Indies. Good afternoon. My name is Corrin Campbell, co-founder and director of growth here at Entrepreneur. And I am here to do an audit session with y'all today. Super excited. Thank you for your patience. I have never had so many pieces of technology rebel against me at one time before. So here we are. So let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay, see me okay. But I think we're probably good. I think I did all the troubleshooting before we started. So we got quite a few audits today. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. We got about at least 10 of you. Keep in mind, you can always leave different comments or questions in the chat box, and I will go back and forth and revisit them as frequently as I can, mostly between each audit. You can also, if you're like, what's happening? You're not going to be able to post links in the YouTube chat. So instead, you're going to want to put it in the Facebook comment below this video. So that's what you're going to want to do if you're new here. I'm going to touch my gain up a little bit so you guys can hear me a little better. Hopefully that's better. All right. So who's not ready? I'm ready. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. This is what I typically do, guys, when we are doing an audit session, at least when you're doing one with me. I share my screen so that I can kind of mumble through the comments and the questions so that we don't all have to read it in real pace in the same way all the time. So, all right. People are saying my signal is low. I don't believe you. Just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and try that. OBS says I'm peaking. So if you can't hear me now, turn up your speakers because I did the best I can. All right. So we got Thomas Irwin first.
Yes.
I know. Niagara Moon in his house. Yeah.
Can I watch this one?
You can totally watch this one.
All right.
Jesse wants to be involved, y'all. So come on over. All right. So he's got an opt-in landing page draft for an upcoming album launch. Do I have any suggestions? And here is what the fan finder looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and check out this video, which you guys are not. This is already amazing. It's super satirical. I love it. And I love strings. I'm a sucker for it. Oh, he's got the chair by the fire.
Yeah.
The chair by the fire is always a good bet. It's always a good bet. All right. So here's what the fan finder is. I'm going to kind of like, not that I don't love you, but we have a lot here. Okay. So this is pretty, we got quick edits. We got you in different roles. I got an idea of the visuals. Okay, great. So I am going to watch the rest of that later because that's fun. All right. And so here is his landing page. All right. So I wonder what this is built on. What do you think this is built on?
ClickFunnels.
It does look like it's built on ClickFunnels. All right, cool. So first off, Thomas, the black on this is kind of weird. And I know that you're probably, I mean, obviously you want this image there, and it probably, whoa.
It's very memey.
It's very, yeah, it is very memey. I like that. So I know that you're, trying to get visibility here. This is actually a pretty cool recall moment. I would think you could even put this as an image on the side of the text so that you're not having to do this like 1990s blackout behind the text look because it's not as complimentary. So that's something that you could do. I might even suggest like putting the photo to the left, doing an image block, having 2 columns, and in the right column having this in there. But nice red button totally goes along with the visuals. Same thing here with this quote, right? Now, another thing that I'm noticing above the fold, we've got your logo, which is, it looks like it's text though. I don't think that's imagery. I feel like I've seen Niagara Moon logos.
That's an image.
That's an image? Okay, cool. So, all right. We've got some text variety happening in here. I can't totally distinguish if this is either a different font or it's a font that is more squished, right? Like you've changed the tracking and leading on it, or the boldness, the weight. So I would say go ahead and make that different. But overall, like you're getting to the point. You've got some stuff here that is like, hey, this is, pretty cut and dried, right? There's no reason to get too crazy up here. So, obviously the image supports the message. So yeah, I would say go ahead and put almost like you see if you've done like an ultimate album launch or you've done the free plus shipping and handling funnel, etc. You see like the product and then there's the 2-step order form. I would go ahead and take that formatting and apply that here as well so that we get that funky image, right? We can see that it's you. Obviously, this is recognizable without being able to see your face, but I think it would look better if you could, just have a box that had a black background instead of having to highlight your text with the black behind it. It would look a little more, purposeful. I do get that 90s throwback looks on the web is actually something that's kind of trending right now. So it does have an ode to that, but I think maybe this is just shy of looking like you did it on purpose and looks more like, oh, you had to make this visual. So, I put this black there. All right. So, all right. Love this. Lovely fan of strange and fantastical music. I think that's an accurate description. Accurate description. Okay, cool. Music and stories for free. Audacious and experimental way. Virtual live show. Phone and computer. Log into the world. Yeah, this is great. You've got your benefits. I like that you're kind of being cheeky here about streaming it, right? Like, yeah, people can stream it. So you're automatically, like right at the beginning, kind of answering that objection of why this is different and why they shouldn't just go to Spotify and listen to you there. The album will be exclusive to this platform. All right. But other people will get it later. One thing to think about with exclusive is that it tends to carry with it a perpetuity kind of vibe. So I might try to find a different way to say that. When you say the album will be exclusive to this platform, maybe you put, for the next several months or something like that. Just so that, because it's a little confusing with those two sentences next to each other. We've got another clicky button here. Perfect. Little pop-up. Great. All right. You've got your button clicks tracking, so that's good. It looks like these are screenshots, right? Yeah, that's an image. That's an image. Okay. Cool. I was just looking at the text. So obviously when you're doing screenshots, you showing the receipts, so you're not able to edit. So that's perfect. Yeah, that's great. I love that you blocked out people's last names. Way to go. This is really great social proof. I also like that you are showing your comments because it shows that you're engaged with people who are, interacting on your posts. So it's not just like, look, all these people said I'm great. It really is like, look, all these people are great, like, because I am talking to them. So therefore, this isn't just some blind feedback. This is people having a conversation, right? So I like that. And the album will become available. All right. So everywhere else eventually, right? So there you are addressing that whole thing. I think you're having the same moment here, right? Where because you're using this background image instead of image blocks, same thing here, like this blue kind of popped up out of nowhere, right? And then, this isn't as legible probably as we would like. So I'm not sure if maybe you did that. Like if this is an image, maybe you did that because this has black behind it. So you're feeling like, oh, well, if I put black behind this, then it's on brand, right? So, you know, but if you did a black background entirely and then used image blocks instead, no one would ever know. So that's one way that you can work with that. Overall, I think it's good. I think you're, you know, you're communicating the right things, right? There's a lot of benefits listed here. It definitely doesn't seem like you're like, hey, sign up and I'll give you a download. It's awesome, right? There's some personality injected. So I like all of that. I would just say when you're looking at the visual of it, trying to figure a way to make this background either a black or some kind of gradient, right? And moving the image to photo. And, you know, that might give you an opportunity as well to put, you know, an image up here and then put another screenshot from that video, you know, on the right side over here and have black behind this in the text part, the text block. So that's my feedback there. But overall, I think this is good. The content's there. I would just tweak the visual a little bit. So that's my 2 cents.
Totally agree.
Did you enjoy that, Jesse?
I did.
Yeah, Jesse really wanted to be here. Now go get back to work, you slave driver. I am the slave driver. All right, cool. So, great job, Thomas. Thank you for sharing that. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, so let me get back to my comments here. I'm going to check the chat. The clever references can hear me, and so can Glendore and the Essentials. Hi, Brett. All right, so let's get back into the next audit. Be spicy, y'all. I'd love to see in the comments if you have specific questions or, you know, like the biggest the biggest help here is going to be, you know, thinking about, and this is what we do in Founder too, is thinking about how does that person's question apply to my question, right? That's the only reason why you would be here for an hour instead of just like coming for your question. So if you have questions about someone else's homework, you can post that in the chat. You're not limited to only asking questions about your own. So if you want clarification on any of the things I'm saying, please do put it in the chat and I will make sure that I cover it for you. All right, so Jan wanted me to take a look at his website. He's implemented quite a few changes since I audited last time. Great. And we're going to check it out. All right. He specifically says he'd like me to look at the lyrics page. Noted. Shall do. Oh yeah, I remember this site. Nice clean site. All right, we've got the albums down into a more, you know, if I remember correctly, you had bigger cover images, and this is all right in a row, which I love. I'm going to cheat here and go to mobile. Okay, so we still have some mobile things. I think we talked about that last time. So, but can't do everything all at once, right? So just know that, you know, when the screen shrinks down, this stuff isn't being responsive to that. As long as you know that and can work on it. All right, so you've got some play here, play video there. Does this come in a pop-up? Okay, cool. Yeah, YouTube embed. Perfect. I like that. And that'll respond well to mobile as well. All right. So, yeah, I remember I love these little visual impacts you have over there. See, look, even here, it's cut off at the top right, unless my browser's that big. Which I know a lot of people are looking at their, you know, stuff on widescreen, but I actually just naturally had my browser window this big, and that was cut off. So, just a note. All right, let's look at this lyrics page you specifically wanted. All right, cool. So we've got these images. Yeah, so this, I think, if I remember correctly, this is more the size that you had last time on the home page. And now you've, you know, made them smaller on the home page and bigger on this page, which, you know, this is their time to shine, right? If someone's coming into the lyric page, this is going to be of interest. So I think that's a good choice there. So when we click on these, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. I like how that pops up. And it's copyable, so that's great. You know, that's something that I'm always looking for in a lyric page, which I know is a little thing, but can people copy it? And I know you're like, well, I don't necessarily, like, why would anyone copy it? But they do. They, you know, they copy it and they print it, and, you know, when they really love you, they want to see these little things and then, share that lyric on Twitter or, whatever, because they specifically identify with it. So I like that. Yeah, this looks good, Jan. I would just, again, we've got your button up here that kind of just likes to go somewhere else. And overall, I think I can't remember what you said you built this on, but overall it looks like some responsiveness is still needed here. But I like this lyric feature. I like how that looks. So very cool. Very cool. All right. So let's move on. Theme. I like that. Hi, Corrin. I'd love your feedback on the Facebook ad video and copy I plan to run for our email opt-ins. All right. The sign up button will take the user to this page. I prefer to serve this ad to people who have watched 75% of this fan finder. And if you have time, it'd be great to get some general feedback on your website. All right, great. Well, let's start with the video. And sometimes the business.facebook, yeah, it did forward properly. Okay, great. So notifications go away. All right, so just checking those out. All right, cool. I'm a big fan of animation. Love that stuff. All right, so this video is under a minute long. So just keep in mind that when we talk about 75% video viewers, we're usually saying that in reference to like a 3.5-minute video. So you might want to first, when you're sending that ad to people, you might want to first target 95% video viewers, see what that does. If that's giving you a hard time, then maybe move to 75%. But when you're talking about 75% of a 1-minute video, 45 seconds isn't the level of investment that we'd really like to have, right? Now, I know a lot of people do shorter videos as like teasers, and because they're trying to do IG feed stuff. So it's, not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It's just something to consider when you have a 1-minute video that 75% is a much lower indicator than 75% of a 3 or 4-minute video, right? So as long as you know that, right, that could impact how your ad performs once you move into that. So I'm going to go ahead and check out the Facebook ad video and copy here. All right, cool. All right. So I'm going to read over this really quick. Me too. Yeah. See, and you're being complimentary. Connoisseurs of fine hip hop. Using some, fancy language so people feel bougie checking it out, right? Being like, I am a connoisseur. Thank you. Producers getting coffee and donuts. I think that's a really clever name, too. I like that. Cool. So, yeah, this is definitely long enough copy where if someone's really interested, you're not just filling it up with words for no reason, right? So I like too that, you've kind of broken it up into these different things. The only thing I would say is that you might want to figure out a way to get kind of the point, like get to the point, right, in this first paragraph. Only for, and you have to, it's kind of, you got to be clever, because it's like, okay, I want people who are interested in the whole story to get the whole story. I think the fact that you have a question here at the very top is probably a good way to get people to click down and read the rest of it, right? Because they're like, what is going to, what else is going to be happening in this message? So, but you might want to also test some short copy and test something that gets more to the point of like the stuff that's in here. Test them against each other, right? You don't have to run one or the other. I think that this is good, like medium level copy as far as length is concerned. So just try something that's short. And, you may even want to try something that's even longer, right? Where you really get into the weeds on it and test that as well. Because some people, especially if they are connoisseurs in real life, that probably means that they're going to want to read a whole bunch about this and really get into the nitty gritty of it. So, try some long copy too. But I think overall, this is a great middle of the road length. I like the title of it. And, you're making it clear this is what you're going to get, right? So that's great. All right, so let me go ahead and take a look at your video for it. I'm not able to preview this type, so I'm going to download it. Hopefully that'll work. All right, so I'm going to move this over here so everybody else can see it. All right, cool. So you're showing some faces, showing some gear, showing some, you get a little bit of cred for like having radio stuff and announcers and stuff like that. The only thing that I'm seeing right now is that there's not a lot of overlap in visual from your initial fan finder to this video. And this video is cool. Like, I like how you're bringing in the live video and you've got some split screen stuff here and there. And, it's very clear that you're like this multifaceted guy, right? Like there's more going on than you just sitting around in your bedroom, like rapping at people, which would be cool too. But I think the only thing is that people aren't going to see the connection between the last thing they saw and this dude. They could see this video as the very first video ever and, like that it would leave them with the same amount of information. So I think it'd be cool if you took something like this, splice in that animation that's from the first video, just in different parts, right? You've got a whole bunch of different scenes in here crossing over with all the music. So I would just say, like, in a couple of these scenes, splice in some of that illustration, because that characterization is what struck me when I saw that video. Now, I'm not identical to everybody who's going to be looking at your stuff, but since that stuck in my head, you want people to know that this is the same brand, right? This is the same presentation. It's just kind of building upon it. So I would say take some out of that first video, the fan finder video, get some of that illustration in there just so that their brain's like, oh yeah, right? That recall is always super important. So, but overall, I think the production of that is really cool. I like that you're mixing in like an IG live with some, some live stuff, some gear stuff, some just general personality stuff, right? I like the combination of all of that. So I'm going to check out your landing page now. All right. See, now this, even though it's not the same animation as the video, it's got the color scheme seems familiar to me, and the fact that it's an illustration reminds me of this like comic book look that you had in the first video, right? So I dig that. Oh, these are actually, you can play all this. All right, cool. I thought it was gonna be a drop down. All right, so that's rad. So you're downloading the B tape and getting access to bonus content. And then this, I'm assuming, is this the content? Or no? Is this other content? That's one thing I don't necessarily understand. And these are vidges. Okay, videos that seem to be linked to these episodes up here. So I don't know if this is if the opt-in is just showing on the screen where yeah, I'm not totally sure what's happening, because I feel like they shouldn't get this until after, right? So that's the only thing there. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice clean page. I like that the player is popping out down here, right? Spotify link there. You've got people who can opt in at the top here. You don't really need one in the middle, right? Because you've got one at the bottom and this isn't a super long page. Love the color scheme. I love, that just the animation on these these boxes for the video. So the only thing I wouldn't know or wouldn't understand necessarily is why, these are here, and, distinguishing that that's different from what they're getting if they sign up, right? So that's the only thing I would double check on that. Like, even if you had this and you were like, you had previews of those tracks, or you said you can get more like this, right? And to be honest, my brain totally skipped this. Because it just seems like it's talking about something else, right? So yeah, that's the only thing I would say. I would say, if you are going to include some content that isn't gated by this, just explain why it's there, right? And be like, look, this stuff's awesome and is an example of more of the awesome stuff you're going to get when you sign up for this. So that's my 2 cents there. But I think the branding overall is nice and clean, right? You're making sure that people have the option to sign in multiple times, and you're making it clear what they're going to get. It's just this that I don't understand. But otherwise, I really dig that. So I hope that was helpful. All right, here's Brett. Brett has a question. He just saw there was an audit session. It looks like it's a quick question, so I'll address it quickly. During the founder sessions, do you look at how our ads are set up? Do you get right inside our ads manager? I was hoping this was the case. So for Founder, for those of you who don't know, Indie Founder is our coaching program that got revamped in mid last year, and now it's thriving and doing great. Brett, we do not get into your ads manager. However, we do have 2 weeks where we're covering different kinds of ads. And if there was anything that you specifically wanted audited or addressed from the coach, you could absolutely do that. There's, plenty of opportunities in the conversation to ask things about your ads. So we would, be able to kind of comb through some of these mistakes with you if you sent in screenshots with your assignments, stuff like that. So just wanted to kind of answer that quickly because it sounds like that was a quick question. All right. So let's get to Adam. Adam's been running a fan finder at 4 cents per 75% video view. Did you hear that, Jesse?
45.
4 cents.
4 cents per 75. How long has it been?
I don't know.
Let's see.
Let's see how, because that's low.
Super.
So usually when I see that, there's one of 3 things happening. 1, the countries are suspect. 2, the video's not very long. Or 3, it's a baller video. I'm hoping it's the last one because that is my favorite. Okay, so let's take a look at this fan finder video. I think this is the one you're probably talking about. 2.5 minutes. All right. What are we looking?
I'd be curious for 95s.
You'd be curious for 95s?
95%,
Yeah? Yeah, you got a lot of good comments in here. You talk back with people. I can hear myself talking very quietly. Clickbaity title brought me in, stayed for that dope saxophone solo. We all want comments like that. All of us. Yeah, that's a really, that's really great. I feel like maybe some of this grain in the video is actually making it, that's kind of trendy right now, right? So it's a little bit eye-catching. It's funny, like, you either need to go really candid or very not candid a lot of the times to make this stuff work. So the fact that this is like looks like it's in a basement, or no, not a basement, but you've got these like this exposed duct up here and whatever. It's very casual. So the grain, I think, really adds to kind of the vibe of it. So that's cool. That cost per 75% video view is very low for a video of that length. So awesome job. All right. So the Facebook ad link to the opt-in page, and then we've got the album launch opt-in page. And you sign up for Founder in April. Yarr. I'm excited about that, Adam. Can't wait to have proper youth in Founder. It's going to be baller. Especially if you're doing this well with your videos. All right, so let me look at your things. We want to give you our entire debut album for free. Why? Because we don't want to do what everyone else is doing. We want to try to be different. Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, this is good. Really candid. It's in there. Link in bio. Just make sure if you're running this on Facebook, that link in bio caption isn't there. Because obviously, there's no link in bio on Facebook. I mean, there is, but you know. So just make sure that's customized if you're running it on Facebook. I know very well this could be, you know, running it with multiple different versions and whatever. So, but just make sure if you have that link in bio. But yeah, I think this is great. Nice, candid, in your face. You know, you don't look awkward or like you don't want to be there, right? Parks and Rec starts playing. Cool. Oh, and see, here you have the widescreen version. So I'm assuming what I was looking at must have been IG because it was square. Maybe? Yeah. It's I like this widescreen version. I almost wish that that's what I had seen on Facebook. But again, I know that just because I'm viewing it on Facebook doesn't mean it's being placed on Facebook, and that might be a very specific placement. So, yeah. Oh, maybe that's an existing post on your IG. Huh. All right, so I like the branding here. I like the color scheme, right? It's nice and contrary. Obviously, you've got your stuff in white, this blue and pink, kind of not pastel, right? But also not super saturated, is really visible up against the gray. So I really like that. All right, I see Claim Your Spot has kind of a different font than these do, which is fine because I'm only seeing 2 fonts thus far. All right, and this matches. All right. So we've got this heartfelt video from you that matches the ad that they're seeing, right? Which is always essential. You want as much to carry over from the ad to the landing page as possible, because then people are like, yeah, I'm where I'm supposed to be, right? Like I saw this and I clicked and I'm seeing it, you know, something that is obvious that that is what I wanted. All right, so you got some quotes here featuring members of the band and talking about the benefits. Claim your spot. What are these? Let's dream folk together. What are these swirls? I don't know what those swirls are. Part of me is like, they're cool, and part of me is like, why are they there? Dream folk. It might be something that is in your brand that I'm missing because I'm not as immersed in your brand and the message. But I'm curious what those are. But otherwise, if you click that plus button over there, you seem like a prime candidate for our Easter egg hunt. That is clever. I like that. That's really actually, it made me feel clever that I clicked on the button and this little thing popped up. So yeah, I like this. And that, you know, that you're like, hey, in addition to all the stuff we're giving away anyway, there's more things. More all things. Yep, I love it. Got some quotes in here. A1234. Is that a real thing? Is that a real thing? A1234? Is that a... Yeah, look at... Oh, it's a music blog. Nice. I thought it was made up. Sorry, guys. I'm not up on my blogs. But, yeah. This is good. I think this looks really great, Adam. Like, there's very little I would change about this. I think that especially this section is really clean. This text is a little small. That's... I mean, that and these little spirals that I'm confused about is the only like critiques that I have. Otherwise, I think that this looks really good. I think too, like, you know, kind of highlighting the name here in pink is good. So that people are like, oh yeah, there's a theme here, right? So Close to Paradise, So Close to Paradise. Like it really gets the album experience name in in their brains, so that even if you retarget people who land on this page and, are trying and they didn't sign up and you're trying to get them to sign up, you're taking all the opportunities you can to ingrain in their head what it's called, what you're talking about, so that you don't have to just be like behind the scenes. So yeah, I think that's great. Can't wait for you to come into Founder, Adam. I think it's going to be really good. All right, here's David Blair, one of our founders. David Blair is a founder, and he never, ever ceases to amaze me how deep he digs into this stuff. So I'm excited that you're here, David. All right, so let's say, I'm going to check the comments real quick. So Jan's saying he used Wix. Awesome. So Jan, if you are building on Wix, if you are in the site builder on desktop, up at the top, you'll see it's usually in the middle, but I haven't been in there for a hot minute. But there should be, or else on the top right, there's a menu that allows you to go to the mobile view so that you can specifically edit your mobile. And actually, I'm going to do that real quick. Sorry, David, I'm going to get back to you, but I want to check this and just make sure that it's not a browser thing. If Wix is actually coding your site for mobile by reading the actual device itself instead of the display size, then that could be what's happening there. So I'm going to put your biz in my phone so that I can check it out. I spelled it wrong. I always do things like that. All right. Let me try one more time. Arts. Men. There we go. All right. Sorry I don't have my mobile screen share, guys. Yeah, so on mobile, it looks peachy. Gotcha. Okay. So you've already done that with Wix. And I mean, that is something like Wix isn't our favorite because of weird things like that, right? Because there could very well be someone on desktop who wants to see it that big because they're doing something else in another, screen or whatever. So, and it's not perfect, but you've done everything that you can. So anyway, sorry guys for the aside. I just really wanted to check that out while I was thinking of it. All right, back to David. All right, so after lead subscribe via a 3 free downloads offer from this squeeze page, which has about a 27% conversion rate, they go through an 8-email AWeber campaign. I broke out each email into a shared doc and included open rates for each. I think the squeeze page, 27%, is a pretty decent conversion rate. So I think I get drop off in the emails and only get purchase of about 1% last I checked. That's great. Oh, wait. Only get purchase of about 1%. Okay. I was thinking drop off was only 1%. I was like, whoa. All right. So I think if I got the email campaign tweaked a bit, it could fix a weak spot. I also think once I do a new video fan finder with a video that is better and target 75% of views really cold traffic. Based on interest, yeah. So that is the hardest part. That conversion rate for the squeeze page is a little, it's healthy, but it's a little low. Let me see here. I'm going to take a look at your video. You're using the Jean Jacques layout. Did you see David Blair's opt-ins, Jesse? This is the Jean Jacques. I'm not saying that you actually did Music Marketing Manifesto and this is from it, but it looks like identical to Jean Jacques' template. So yeah, I think, this page is a challenge instantly because we've got a lot of text in here, right? It's on a white background. These are the things that I've always, I kind of thought about Jean Jacques. And trust me, I like Jean Jacques' stuff. He's definitely inspired me in how I've thought about marketing my music. So this is not a criticism of what he's done, right? But the template is a little rough. It looks very dated. It does not feel super current. I think, too, that you might be going a little bit strong with all of this all caps stuff. And this could be impacting your opt-ins, right? This could be impacting how many people are like, this looks like immersive and cool and I want to be a part of it. Also, 3-track download is a tough, it's a tough benefit to sell, because they're like, I can get it elsewhere. And even if they can't get it elsewhere because it's not up on digital platforms, it can be a really tough way to try to entice people. So now that doesn't mean it's not going to work at all, but I do think that this could be impacting your sales conversions on the back end, because they're not even necessarily opting in for something that's bringing them into a fan depth level. They're just getting something, and they're getting something that technically they could probably search on their own elsewhere. So my 2 cents is that if you were to generate some content, there's something that's like quintessentially a lead into purchasing something from you when you are presenting content, that the only real benefit of it is not that they're getting something that has fiscal value elsewhere. It's that they're getting something that is getting into the artist's world, right? Something that you're presenting that isn't the song, that isn't the music. It's the stuff that is identifying what makes you different from everybody else. So that's the only thing I would consider the offer here. The landing page isn't, groundbreaking. It's also not terrible or awful. It's more about, the fact that what they're signing up for isn't something that necessarily leads in a place where their relationship with you is deepening, right? And that's where people invest, not because they want a utilitarian CD, but because they care about you and your artistry, and they feel like they've gone through a journey with you. So that's one thing I would consider there. When you start, talking about your conversion rates, that's probably, that's probably why you're seeing that drop off more than anything else that you could tweak from, just from what I've looked at thus far. I'm going to open this doc, which I don't totally know. Okay, this is your email campaign. Okay. All right, so you have a lot of drop off from 1 to 2. It's not terrible, but it's not great, right? What's interesting, though, if you take a look here, from the first email to the 40%, or to the number 2 email, is a 40% drop off. It's a 50% loss, right? Which is a lot. But then when you go from the second email to the third, you're actually, kind of retaining a good portion of those people, because the open rate is kind of staying the same, right? So, and I'm assuming that these are being triggered not from only people who have opened it, but that you're sending it to them no matter what, right? So that's great. And then, 37% open rate here for the 4th email. And then 5th email, read all about how I chopped off Paul Stanley's head. That's pretty interesting. I think that's great too. We have another email. Okay, so people start to drop off a little bit here, right? You have a 20% open rate instead of a 36, 30s, 40s, which is what you've had. But what's interesting is that it says save 30% on my album. That is not something I'm seeing in these other like subject lines or headers. And I don't know if you're just naming them that, or if that's the subject. I'm assuming that's the subject when you're sending it out. So, be sensitive to that. Sensitive, just like time sensitive. Be aware of that, that your audience is not looking for a savings on this stuff. I do think that these emails are great. I'm not going to click through to all these pages because I definitely want to get to everyone else's stuff. But I think that largely you could repurpose almost all of this in a way that just doesn't sound like you're going to get 3 free songs, Package it differently. You've already put all the work into telling these stories. So I think it's really just the way that you present it. And as people are consuming this content, keeping, even more of it out of email and putting more of it onto these, web pages that you're sending them to. Now, let me take a look here. If I click the download, oh, it just automatically downloads. Sorry, I'm just kind of I'm going to check out some of these links. Gotcha. Yeah, these are really, they're assertive, salesy. I hate using that word because we all need to not be afraid of selling things as musicians. But, yeah, and this is going to a blog that has a similar thing. So, for example, in this email, number 4, right? It's like, I wrote a blog post on my site, that's about this thing, right? And this is an opportunity for them to get to know you better as an artist. And they come to this page and they're already being like asked to do something that they already did, right? And I'm sure that's because you're just sending people to a page on your site that exists otherwise. And so therefore, if people got to this page in any other way, you want them to have that available as an option. But what it does is it causes a disconnect when you're talking to the people who have read the email and have proceeded to this page, because now they're like, there's this huge red arrow that they've already seen before, and they're being presented with an option for the thing that they already did, and that's why they're here in the first place. So yeah, I think there's some things we could kind of tweak about this, just so that your segmentation is a little bit more purposeful, and that the offer is a little bit more purposeful. But largely, you've got a ton of content here that you could just wrap in different wrapping paper, and it would come off in a completely different way. So fortunately, you're in the founder class, so we can help you do that. Do me a favor, David, and go ahead in the founder group, post some of this stuff, especially this. I know that maybe that was covered in the email marketing week, and that is David in class 2 or 3?
I think 3.
Okay, so email marketing week, we're going to be touching on that. We're going to go through all of this with you because I think there are ways that we can package this in a way that's going to be far more beneficial for you. So I wouldn't worry too much. I wouldn't put it in front to change your advertising. I think I would take a look more at the messaging before you worry about having a different fan finder. Because 27% conversion is pretty good. It's not like I said, it's not like blow me out of the water, but it's pretty good, So, all right. Read Cameron Fox, who is also a founder. Man, you guys are getting your money's worth. Do it. I love it. All right. I was watching the Optimizing Your Facebook Banner section. That's in ones and zeros. So the Entrepreneur Basic Printer and your Facebook don't have text on their Facebook banner cover. I'm down to make one, but was just curious if y'all found it better not to do it for some reason. It would make sense. That would be better to have a call to action text to help explain the button, though, right? No. I mean, you can, right? Basically, when we're running specific campaigns, we may create a header that points to that button, but it can be confusing because obviously the header is, not something that changes just because, you're on mobile or on desktop. So pointing to the button can be tricky because you have to make sure mobile is actually a little taller and obviously not wide. It's thinner. And on desktop, it's widescreen and the button is way over here on the right, So having it point to the banner or having it right above the button, right, is usually how you would want to do that. Almost in the way that Dave's page was, there's this big red arrow and it's like, do this thing, right? And even though I was being a little critical of that template, that is what you want to do if you're going to have a message that is similar to where they're clicking, right? And explaining that button. So instead, I only have text on my banner, oh yeah, you did say my Facebook. I only have text on my banner when there's like the big campaign. So if I were to do an ultimate album launch, right, which I wouldn't really call it that, but if I were to do some kind of launch like that, I would put that text in my banner. But if it's a button where I'm assuming that people aren't necessarily going to my page for a particular reason, I don't want to be that aggressive. I want them to be able to really just like enter the world that is Corrin Campbell, right? See the imagery, feel like they're getting to know the artist. At that point, I'm assuming that most visits on my Facebook page are not people who are going there because I told them to. They're there because they happened upon it, after a fan finder or something like that. So I like to stick with imagery. I think we've just seen that a lot of formatting of text on cover page or the cover is just not, it's difficult to format properly. So that's the biggest reason why. You tried to connect your Square Up shop to Facebook. It worked, but for some reason it won't let me connect to IG. It says not eligible for Instagram shopping. Yes, that is not uncommon for many people who are, running different shops. That Facebook is pretty much like, yeah, go ahead, put it on here. Go ahead, put your products and sell them and whatever. And IG is just, they are notorious for just being like, no, we don't want you. It's like getting a verification check on one of these things. It's just, they just kind of pick and choose. And it's funny because they go into the rule. If you go into the rules and it's like, you cannot sell drugs or guns. And you're like, I'm not. But a lot of it is still just if they're not seeing the activity, if they're not seeing a lot of bandwidth, it may just be like you haven't earned it yet. So don't feel like it's your products or anything that you can change, because chances are it's not. Chances are it's just IG saying like, nope, you're not eligible because we said so. You watch trainings, haven't grasped the difference between business ID and account ID. Seems like account ID is inside my business ID, but also seems like they have separate pixels and I'm having trouble connecting to my store. So your account ID, and I'll just open a tab up on this real quick. I'm not totally sure what you're talking about, but I'm going to guess here. Okay. So if I go into a random business manager, right? If I click down, you can see here that there's this business manager account, right? And that business manager account is going to have an ID associated with it, which you can see right here, right? There's an ID for your ad account. There's an ID for your page. And there's an ID for your personal ad account. You want to do nothing on your personal ad account. That one with your face, stay away from it. Because it's not what you want to operate in. You want all the added benefits of business manager. So if I had to guess, I would guess that you're talking about the ID for this personal ad account. Those are not the ID numbers that you want. So now keep in mind too that your business ID, which is right here, is different from your Pixel ID. So this is the business manager ID, which that number is mostly for if you're sharing, if you are requesting access to someone else's business manager. That's an actual like ID number. When it comes to pixels, you go into events manager or pixels. It kind of depends on your business manager layout. And this pixel ID is different, right? And that's because a business manager account can have multiple ad accounts, each of which can have one pixel. So chances are that your business manager account is going to, could have, multiple IDs within it. So that's why it differs. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I did the best I could with your question because I'm not totally sure exactly what you mean, but I hope that's helpful. You're setting up your standard events, testing the events, and your activity shows up as page view instead of view content. What's the difference? Page views. What week are we in for class 3 right now, Jesse?
Week 2.
We're about to do standard events. We're going into 3. Okay.
So
we're doing standard events right now. All right. So read essentially, and you'll get more on this tomorrow, but page view just means someone was on your site, right? So it doesn't necessarily indicate anything of any value except the fact that they landed on your website. as far as view content, I use view content if it's, for example, a landing page for an opt-in, right? They haven't put in their information, but that page view of that landing page is more valuable than if they're just on some other random page, right? They saw something specific. They saw an offer. So essentially, I use view content anytime there's a page where, they're actually looking at an offer or looking at a product or looking at something that would basically inform my future advertising or messaging to them. Whereas a page view, if they're looking around at my videos and my, IG feed that's embedded on my site or anything like that, that's just a regular page view. I'm not going to follow up with any ads, so I'm not really too worried about it. They are targetable in the same way. It's just that page views are going to include every view of every page anywhere on your site. So view content's a little bit more valuable. Okay. And thank you for saying I'm inspiring. You're inspiring. And I mean that. All right. We got 2 more people. I'll refresh the page and make sure everyone in the comments is super duper quiet. And that's fine. No judgment. No judgment on that. All right. Yep. We've only got 2. And then I have a meeting. So I got to hurry my butt up. That's what happens when you're late. Then everything's late. Don't be late. All right. Josh took the examples from the Ultimate Album launch and made a page for a single he just put out. He'd like to know if I think it's ready to email out. Any suggestions you have? You have 2 singles on Spotify. This is the first one you've pushed. You have thousands of 75% views on your fan finders. And I know I need to ask for email addresses. Hell yes, you do, Josh. Get them out of that stage. Move them up. Recently, Cirque said Ultimate Album Launch is not the obvious next step for Fan Finder. Yeah, you're a little muddy to this in-between stage. So how do you benefit from opt-ins from your warm audience now that you've begun the process with 2 successful Fan Finders? And this is the link. All right, so I'm going to check out. Sorry, guys, just dealing with a thing. Hey, Jesse.
Yes.
Can you message Cirque and ask him to hop on the call with Dane? The phone number's in the calendar invite. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Doing business over here. What you gonna do? Okay, so this is Josh's intro video sheet. So go ahead and name that something forward-facing friendly, since it's going to show up when people get here. I'm getting so, tortured artist vibes from this. It's great because you've got this, in the background, it's a little fuzzy, and you're in focus, and so thoughtful. Quick cuts. I like it. Okay. Oh, this is pretty. Okay, so you've got lyrics here. You've got the video. Write stuff about stuff, and the email will go to me. Tell me stuff. I love that. Okay, so I want to check what you said here. I made a page for a single I just put out. Okay, great. So I'm assuming that you're going to be sending this as a follow-up to people who have opted in. I think it's great. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think that these pages need to be complex. They just have to be rich in content, right? So you have that. You're letting them know it's on Spotify. I might move that further down the page. But, you've got lyrics and imagery, and I also love that this is in black and white, and you could color it like you said. And you've got this video here. I might put the video above the lyrics, right? Little tweaks like that. But overall, this page is fine. You've got enough content on here where it's okay, this is, appropriate. I wouldn't worry too much about how it's looking at that point because this isn't a landing page. So you don't have to worry about all the visuals, right? This is great content. I think you're presenting them with plenty of value where you don't really need to stress about it. So I'd send it out. I think it's good. See how people respond, right? You may also just need to adjust. That's what we do all the time, right? People will email you back. They'll probably tell you what they like, what they don't like, right? So just use that information and then tweak it to be even better. So don't let one guy throw you off, right? If one person's a jerk and is like, this is stupid and you should have done this, don't adjust because of that guy. But if there's a trend, that's when you can make an informed adjustment. All right, last one. Okay, so here's the clever references, and you guys have been here waiting. I've seen you from the top of this being chatty. All right, so this is your page. Got it. You're at the absolute beginning of the buddy system. Just published your first fan finder. So I'm going to click that. It's only been running for 2 days. You have these reactions and shares and views. Okay. At a glance, are these healthy statistics? Because you had one false start and you added a country, which was Indonesia because I'm Indonesian, which most of the early traffic was. Yeah, that's what will happen. I love the attention. The profiles have visited weren't bot profiles. But did this hurt my fan finder campaign? It's not great, right? Because Facebook is serving your ad all to one place, right? So it starts to, decide like this is the kind of person who will like this. And not to say that Indonesian people are not people who indicate a certain interest, but depending on where you're planning on touring, depending on what country is local to you, you're saying that you're Indonesian. Do you live in Indonesia or are you Indonesian and living in a different country? We always want to target, firstly, the country where we are. And I know the fan finder training gives you a few different pieces of feedback, but you definitely want to first target where you live and or places where you are imminently touring, right? And maybe you can go a little bit in the distance in the future, but mostly where you are and where you're going to be really soon because you're shipping locally, right? Okay, you're in Australia. Gotcha. So you're going to want to stick to Australia for now. I think that's one thing, we do encourage, trying to spread your stuff out. But one thing that I think wasn't taken into consideration for that is that if you only have so much budget, it's going to be most valuable to target just your own country because as you move them into merchandising and maybe coming to shows, if you're at the very beginning, like you said, you don't want to be paying international shipping and making things more complicated for yourself when it comes to profit and margins, right? So, and Entrepreneur started because Circa and I don't think the exact same thing about all things, So, there's a list of countries that are good, right? But those are the lists, really, it's a list of countries that are safe, right? And in theory have fewer bots than other places, but bots are everywhere and real people are everywhere. So I think when you get to a situation like this where you're Indonesian, you're in Australia, Indonesia is obviously not super far from you compared to many places in the world. The only problem is that Facebook is gonna feed everything there. So if you really feel like you're at some point going to go back to Indonesia and play, or go to Indonesia if you were born in Australia, or that shipping is reasonable where you are to Indonesia, then you could test it and put it in its own ad set. I'd recommend staying away from it unless you're going there, like for sure going there, because it tends to be cumbersome and take things over. But you did not ruin your ad account. You didn't ruin everything, right? You weren't trying to just pay for a bunch of likes, like the 10,000 likes in 10 days things by targeting these countries. That's different, right? These are not necessarily the same level of damage as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. You don't have to like reset your fan finder and shut it all off and create a whole new one. And like, I wouldn't worry too much about that. All right. So, you said you shut it off already. Sorry, buddy. It's not, turn it back on or don't, you know what I mean? It's not that heavy. You don't have to worry too much about it. All right. So you made a pin post out of it, which is on this profile, which is unfortunately not everything is fine, but instead tell Ben Kate, which you can listen to here. Is it urgent at all that we release Everything Is Fine as a proper single? Tell Ben Kate. All right, so this looks fun. I already kind of love that because it looks like fun. So it's interesting that you're sharing. Well, I guess you're kind of like posting a reaction to your own video. So yeah, I get it. Makes sense. Or click the link below. Okay, great. I don't think that you should feel, to get to your question here, is it urgent that you release Everything Is Fine as a proper single? No. I don't think that you should feel pressure to release anything in any proper, quote unquote, proper way at all. I would basically release it when you feel like you have the content and the marketing plan to support it. So, I don't think you should really let your content and where you're motivated to market and where you can pay your most attention to, release that music. But I wouldn't say anything's urgent. I would just say make sure that you have a plan for this fan finder and any future fan finders that you're running, that you've got something to give them next, right? So maybe it's not the single, maybe it's not releasing the single, maybe it's that you have a way to get their emails and they can preview the single, or they can preview behind the scenes of the single, and maybe the single's out and maybe it's not, right? What you're offering them it's not something that you want elsewhere. So I wouldn't really put pressure on yourself about, proper single or releasing it in distribution and putting it in an aggregator, making sure it's on Spotify or anything like that. Just make sure that whatever you're offering people to follow up on this fan finder is something, exclusive and something that's they can't find elsewhere and just get anywhere else, right? So that's my lowdown on that. I wish I could dig more into your press kit right now, but we are late because I was late and then I ran late. All the lateness. So I can't do that right now, but I am going to go ahead and save that on my screen so I can take a look at it later. I gotta run, guys. I'm late for a call, but I love you all. I'm so glad I got to spend an hour with you today, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of y'all in the group, on the web, all the things. All right, guys. Have a great Wednesday. Keep on shipping your stuff and stay indie. Bye, y'all.